as Joe's wife, or the mom of the clones, as they call her. I have twin boys, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But so I never really introduced myself as me, but as a role outside of myself. So now I introduce myself, as you guys all know, a little differently than most people. But I'm a believer who struggles with anxiety, obviously, depression, from years of childhood abuse. And today I'm actually celebrating just over 4 years of sobriety from alcohol addiction. I'm not sure where the weight went that I was supposed to gain when I quit drinking or smoking or any of those things, but I had twins at one point. But I do tend to joke a lot. It's kind of a nervous break that I'm sure a lot of people have, so I make no excuses for it, but that's just what I do. I do have a lot of gaps in my memory, so I'm not going to be able to really talk a lot about my childhood, because my brain, as everybody's that's gone through some trauma, has this way of shutting things out and letting you forget them so that you can move on. But I do have some pleasant memories, some good spots. Normally, they are from my grandmother's house. My grandparents, I spent all of my summers with them, which was amazing. I was lucky enough to have them in my life until my mid to late 30s, before they both passed away at 93 and 95. So hopefully I can follow in that. But I do, like I said, have memories from there. That were happy memories. I remember my grandfather and I used to play this game where my nan would make Jell-O, and then we would just pile things on top of it until the Jell-O stopped moving, and then we would eat it. So it was just like everything. They had a dog named Pete, not a real dog, but I do have a real dog now, and his name is Pete. He's the complete opposite of my nan's dog. He's a big, black, lazy old lab. And another thing I do remember was going to church on Sunday mornings. It was a Baptist church, but I didn't know any better. But, it's those times, if you look back on those things, you remember those when you're feeling kind of down, right? I also remember, and it's coming back to me even more now that I'm gardening and have a vegetable garden, which I wish something was ready to bring up for you, Sean, but I ate all the sugar beets, all the snap peas, which is something I did with my grandparents a lot. Just sit and pick them cranberries and everything like that. So now I get to do that with my kids. So it's a nice thing to share with them. A lot of things you're going to hear in my story happen around Easter. It's not because it's my favorite holiday or anything, it just happens be God's fun joke for me. But the first Easter that I really remember was when I was about 10 years old. I got a purple stuffed bunny, a jump rope, and a chocolate bunny. But that Easter, probably wasn't exactly Easter, but around that time, was when my father started to abuse me and groom me sexually. I was my mom's biggest baby, but her smallest kid, and I still am at 43 years old, still the smallest, but I was the weakest, I was the most insecure, so I was the easiest target for my father. So, it wasn't just sexual abuse, it was also physically and emotionally abusive with me, my mom, and my siblings. He would have been a great guard at Guantanamo, where we would stand with our arms stretched over our heads for hours on end. You can try it sometime if you want to, but it's not fun. But other times, instead of doing that, he would line us up, oldest to youngest, and if he figured we had done something wrong at all, which could be anything on any particular day, and he would, with an old axe handle, like solid oak axe handle, would hit us, spank us, one after the other. You would get one, and you would go to the end of the line, and the next person would go. And if nobody confessed to doing whatever it was that we had done wrong, you would start again, but this time you would get 2, and then 3, until somebody just said, okay, I did it. and then it was done. But that was kind of our life growing up, and we just thought every dad was a mean, angry person. You know, you didn't make dad angry, you didn't talk when the news was on, right? You didn't ask to go anywhere, for sure. And you got at least an 85 on every test and assignment, or you were in trouble. So, you know, it was fun. We grew up on the beach, but we didn't really get to go that often because we were always working. Our house growing up was an old farmhouse, and we didn't have a basement. So myself and my 3 siblings dug by hand our basement with pickaxe and all that, you know, fun teenagey stuff. And that continued. Physical abuse kind of stopped when we hit junior high, and you know, couldn't quite hide the bruises and stuff anymore as easily, like we weren't that clumsy anymore. But the sexual abuse for me continued until I was 17, 18 years old. So when I was in grade 12, I told my guidance counselor, because my boyfriend at the time told me if I didn't, he was going to. So I thought, okay, I'll do it. So she called the police and made a statement. I told them what was going on. They went to my parents' house, asked them. Of course, they said, yeah, that's true. Not. They denied it, and that was it. No further investigation. They didn't question my siblings, talk to my teachers, anybody else in the village. Just done. But it did reinforce the message that I heard growing up was not to bother telling anybody because nobody's going to believe you. So I just kind of let people do whatever they wanted to. The next day I moved out of the house and didn't go back. I was on my own at 17. That was the start of my fun, exciting life, allowing others to use me for sex or whatever they wanted, using drugs, abusing alcohol, so I didn't have to feel anything. But I did finish high school, and I was able to get a job, and I worked and paid my bills and made my way. But my confidence was non-existent, and my ability to make any decision, even where do you want to go to eat, was and still is non-existent. I don't make decisions at all. I don't trust people because somebody's talking to me. It's because they need something from me, and once they get it, they'll be gone. So I don't get attached to people. I'm not worthy for it. I was stupid and wouldn't amount to anything. Yeah, I didn't go to church anymore. I remember I did go with my grandparents, but when they got older and I stopped going because everything else that was happening, our family stopped going. Family went to Port Maitland Wesleyan Church, which Port Maitland's just a little tiny village outside of Yarmouth. Great beach there. I don't remember sermons or passages or songs. I remember this little light of mine. Nothing. But that's really it. The only way I know that I went to this church because I've seen pictures of me at church. So obviously I was there. And I didn't really think anything of God. And like if he was real, then he obviously didn't want me because he let all that stuff happen and he didn't stop it. So either he's not there or he doesn't care. Flash forward a little bit. I had my first son when I was 21. He is now 21 and keeps reminding me of this. So I keep that. His laundry comes home every weekend, though. As a single mom, I didn't know what I was doing, as most single moms don't know. But I knew that I couldn't drink anymore because I had this person that I had to keep alive. Not like I did before. I mean, it was my first, it's the first time I tried to be sober. Like, I still got drunk on the weekends when he was at his dad's, but, you know, that's normal, everybody does that. In 2002, I applied to the business course at Grant to go back to school if I applied, so I was like, sure, why not? It's free money. Whatever. And I guess they needed to fill a seat because they were like, yeah, sure, come on. But that's when I really started to feel my anxiety getting really high, because I didn't want to say something that would let these people know that I was all kinds of messed up. But it was actually there where I met a guy who we'll call Joe, because that's his name. You know, makes more sense though. But he turned my world, I say, upside right, because it certainly wasn't right beforehand. Like, he was the first person that actually wanted to hear what I said, and when he said that he liked what I was talking about, like we're in a business economics class or something, little geek, he was like, hey, that makes all kinds of sense. And I was like, what do you want? I was so young, and I figured it was one of those cruel jokes where, you know, the cool guy talks to the ugly girl and takes her to the dance, and Carrie ensues. But he was cool. Like, I lived close to the campus with my son, and in the winter, he realized that we were walking home. My son went to the daycare at the campus, so he would start driving us home so that we could get home faster and warmer and all that safe stuff. I was like, that's weird. But we started dating, and I thought, it's not going to last anyway, but I'll give it a shot. 4 years later, November 2006, I was 34 weeks pregnant with my clones, as I call them. They are identical twin boys. Joe and I were on our way to the baby shower. About halfway-ish to our baby shower, we were hit head-on by an impaired driver. He turned out he was almost 3 times the legal limit of alcohol in his body, and had literally had a drink in the dash or whatever of his car or truck. So his 3/4 ram attached to my little blue Cobalt, and I went to the hospital instead of the baby shower. This actually happened the day before my oldest son's 8th birthday. So I was flown to IWK because my labor started, and if they had to deliver babies, I had to be at the IWK. So I got to miss my son's birthday party and all that awesomeness. And Joe's mom came up and told me that the whole church was praying for us and all of this nonsense. I just rolled my eyes and ignored it. After 2 weeks in the hospital and still pregnant, thank goodness, they let me go home. And it was walking into the parking garage that I realized I had to get back in a car, that the last time I was in a car didn't work out so well. And I had a panic attack right there in the parking garage of the IWK. Yeah. We went home. We did get there. We had to stop every half an hour so that I could get out and breathe, not freak out. But that really, really triggered my anxiety. But yeah, every time I would get in the car, even if we were just running to town or something, I would freak out and panic and think we're going to get hit again. Because once it happens once, it can happen again. 2 weeks after I was released from IWK, had the boys, I thought, okay, now they're here, I don't have to worry about it. It'll be fine. Here. Like, anytime they weren't near me, I was panicking. Either I was going to get hurt and not make it home, or something was going to happen to them and I wouldn't be there, or when they got old enough that they couldn't go in the women's bathroom with mom and had to go in the boys' bathroom by themselves, automatically my first thought was somebody's in there and they're going to hurt them, and that was all the time. But when they got old enough to go to school, if the bus was more than 2 minutes late, literally, I'm watching the clock, and I would start to panic and assume that the bus crashed and it fell into the lake and at the bottom and they were gone. So needless to say, I couldn't go to work or anything, but I did start drinking again, because that way my nerves would kind of calm down, and I didn't have feelings anymore, because feelings suck. But they're still alive, and they're all good. One thing that still kind of catches me off guard is being around Joe's parents, because they're the complete opposite of my family. Like, they actually get along and talk to each other. Weird. We can talk when the news is on, not when NASCAR's on. That's it. Yeah. Choose your battles. But like, seeing that relationship and that family being so tight and normal, really what I found out to be basically a normal family life. You know, they had their issues and whatnot, but it made me feel even more so that I didn't fit in. Even though they accepted me and they loved me and everything, I would like pick fights on purpose to get Joe to leave me. I would call him names. I went through his emails, his phone. I changed his password on his email so I could go through it and he couldn't. That's normal. But like, he never left. And I don't know if he's in some kind of denial about how nuts I was, or if he knew something good was under it all, but he decided that he'd better put a ring on it. So we got married. We just got married on 08/08/08, because we thought that was cool and original. Turns out like 4 million people in China got married on that same day in a mass wedding, because that's a lucky number over there. Apparently I'm Chinese. But 2014 is kind of when my brain started to break. Obviously, it happened a long time ago. But I've been drinking like a lot, like every day kind of thing. But again, it's better than having to feel things, put up with things. And I wasn't an alcoholic. I was trying to come to terms with things that happened to me, and drinking helped with that, you know, so it's fine. It's therapeutic. Yeah. And a bottle of wine every so often, or a box of beer a few times a week, then I should be allowed, because I suffered and it wasn't fair, right? 2 years leading up to 2012, 2014, I'd attempted suicide 3 separate times. And I woke up every morning mad that I woke up at all. And yeah, I was mixing my medication with alcohol, which made me more suicidal, of course. But it made it so that I would not actively try to end my life, but put myself in situations that could lead me to a bad end, and figured that would make it easier for my family to deal with. If I get hit by a car or something, then they would have somewhere to put that, or whatever, but they would get over it. Stuff happens. Easter weekend 2016 is when my brain finally actually broke, like for the last time. Easter weekend, we were going to my now in-laws house. I was told that 2 certain people wouldn't pay, and that I was fine sitting there. And then for whatever reason, I don't know what I said, but I can assure you it was not very Christian of me to say, which was fine because I wasn't a Christian anyway. Doesn't matter. But I did get up, said something, got in my car, and ran away. And yeah, I went home, cracked open a nice cold beer, cried and yelled and insulted myself for I don't even know how long. And like, yeah, I just felt it. It just went, and my gun broke. So I poured out that bottle, I think, because you can't drink and drive, no matter what. And I went in my room and packed a bag, got back in my car, and hit the highway, because I was going to run away, just like the 3-year-old kid I was. Because that would fix things, because if I was the problem and I wasn't around, no problems, right? Yeah, right. I didn't leave a note. I didn't call. Yes, I don't call people. I didn't text. I just left. And I drove. And money in the bank, and I thought I'll just buy a ticket to wherever I can afford when I get to the airport, and that'll be fine. And just do whatever they do. But, yeah, it was on that highway that God actually appeared to me. Through the rain, you know, it's one of those dark and stormy nights. Rain and tears. I don't know where I was, what village it was between my house and wherever I was, but there's a white church that's just kind of like hot, and that's all I saw. And I heard something in my head, something audible. I heard it. And it said, voice said, "You will never be so far away that I'm going to stop loving you." I pulled over and let go of every wrong that I thought God had ever done to me. I cursed him for making me go through all that crap as a kid, for all the depression, for the car crash, for being a bad mom, like everything. But God's got big shoulders. He handles it. He's good with it. You know, sometimes you have to get it all out. So I yelled at him, like a crazy person. "Where were you then? Why are you talking to me now? Like, why couldn't you just stop all of this? And why couldn't I just die already?" So he flashed my husband and kid's face in front of me. That was why. I felt the warmth of my one and only Father's arms around me. A feeling I had been searching for my whole life. As I sat there in the rain on the side of the highway, I knew I had a choice to make. Keep running and hiding, or go home where I belonged. Once I made my decisions, my tears dried up, and like they're doing right now, my mind was empty of any thought, like the radio was on, but I wasn't hearing a thing. As I got closer and closer to my exit, I felt that panic and anxiety start to come back again. Yeah, how am I going to face these people after what I just done, like whatever I said, and all that disappointment? Because they deserved better, and I deserved better. So I didn't go home. I did go to the next best place, which was our hospital's inpatient mental health program, so I could finally get better. 9 hours after I stormed out of Easter dinner so eloquently, I finally let my husband know where I was happen, but he had to allow it to happen. It took such a pressure off of my shoulders that I didn't realize I was carrying. It wasn't mine to carry. Just before being released and back to the real world, my therapist asked me if there were programs at my church. So you know, I'd kind of been going on and off, so I could check off the box for my counselor that said I left my house this week. Okay, I went to church, whatever. So he asked if there was a program to help people with addiction or mental illness or anything like that in my church. I said, no, we don't have anything like that. So he looked at me in all honesty and said, well, maybe because you're supposed to do it. Yeah, right. Who's going to listen to me, right? You knew. But a few weeks later, Bobby likes this story. A few weeks later, I was sitting on my deck and coming to terms with this new life I had to live. No alcohol, no drugs, lots and lots of church. But I wasn't all the way in, you know, like I could toe in, like whatever. I'll hold the candle at Christmas Eve, dinner, whatever. I was there kind of thinking, this God guy that was going to save me from myself, and when was it going to happen? And why was I still so sad all the time? So I decided to ask him, okay, God, if you're real and I'm supposed to follow you, show me. And like all unbelievers, I had to add and make it so obvious that I cannot dispute that it's you doing it. And just like that, my clones, my twins, bolted from the house, turned left when they always go right, because that's where the other kid lives. Nothing over there. We ran that way, straight past the dog, who was attached to the clothesline. And the dog thought, hey, what's going on? Looks fun. Think I'll go too. So he bolted this way. And seconds later, the pulley that was attached to said clothesline and very securely attached to my house came off the house and beamed me in the back of the head. So, careful what you ask for. That was my sign. I went inside, of course, after that. So, flash forward a few months later, and I was talking to one of our pastors. And it was, of course, heading into Easter, my favorite time of year. And he mentioned to me a program called Celebrate Recovery. And he asked if I'd ever heard of it, or if I was, no, I haven't heard anything like that. He said, well, why don't you look into it and pray about it and see, if you think we could use it here. So I did, because I do what I'm told. And I thought, yeah, right. Like me, this broken, weirdo, unbaptized person, yeah, people are going to come and listen to me talk and do what I tell them to do and all that. But then those words from 2 years ago came back. My therapist sitting in that office on April Fool's Day, of all days to be released from the mental health department. Maybe it's because you're supposed to do it. I did not want to ignore another message and get another smack in the back of the head, so I agreed. We'll launch this. So June 2018, we had our first step study, and in October of 2019, we launched CDR at North Wesleyan Church. Mark 16:16 says, whoever believes and is baptized will be saved, but whoever does not believe will be condemned. So on Easter Sunday, 2017, I was baptized. I was now a new person in Christ. So it's been over 4 years since I've had a drink of alcohol. To say it's been easy would be a total and complete lie. And now that I'm a Christian, I'm not allowed to say these things. I've had days that I've parked at the liquor store and fought the urge to go in. I had to leave a job because it was next to the liquor store, and the temptation was just too big. I have, on a number of occasions, had, wanted to sit by a campfire and just, we live in the country. What do you do? Campfires in your feet, right? Last summer, we didn't have a single campfire or bonfire because I couldn't handle it. Couldn't have people there drinking when I wasn't allowed to. But there's also times when I'm like, I don't even think about it. And I don't count days or whatever like I used to. I used to have that app that's like, you've been sober for 3,000 days and you've saved this much money. And I'm like, really? My bank account says otherwise. But obviously that's, we spend it on other things, right? But my why from that side of the road conversation has never changed, ever. My why calls me wife, mom, friend, leader, and sister. My why sees everything I do and hears everything I say. And if those two things do not line up, then my why calls me out on it. My why is looking to me to show them that no matter how hard something is, no matter how much the world seems to be against you, in the end, you need to decide what's right for you, not the world. I've been doing a lot of work over the past bit on myself. It's not selfish to do that. Do it if you need to. I didn't think I changed a lot in that amount of time, but I guess I have. I still can't go back to work because of mental illness, and I will be on medication probably for the rest of my life for it. It is what it is. Still have a hard time going to a store when it's busy, and I have on occasion left a full grocery cart in the middle of an aisle and ran out of a store. I still get angry and I do yell, but I'm getting better at dealing with people who don't know how to drive, right, Bobby? We can yell at them more. Maybe one today. I do still doubt myself in new situations. I'm still not doing this parenting or this wifing thing right. But I'm no longer striving for perfection. Protection always, yes please. But not for perfection, because I know it doesn't exist. I'm trying to be reasonably happy in this life, so I can be supremely happy forever with God in the next. Isaiah 12:2 says, "Surely God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. The Lord himself is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation." So to anyone out there who's battling addiction or mental health or whatever it is you're dealing with and struggling with, remember your why and keep running. Thank you.